thank you, Naomi, for opening up your office to the Real Estate Superhero Alliance.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
And thank you, Melanie. It's a pleasure to meet you today. What got you involved with the Alzheimer organization?
I started off as a volunteer back in 2011, and I think through the progression of my time as a volunteer, learning about the disease, how does it impact the person, how does it impact families and the community, I think they're kind of the fiery passion grew, and then what this organization, how they were playing a role in those folks' lives and meeting those needs at those times, just a burning desire to be a part of it in a bigger way than just a volunteer. So 2012, they actually decided to start paying me to be here, so here I am.
Oh, so can you tell us a little bit how Alzheimer's and dementia is affecting our community?
If you think about how Alzheimer's disease works in general, you know, think about when you take a pebble, right, and you throw it into a body of water. It kind of goes down, but then there's these ripples. So the rock that you're throwing represents Alzheimer's, and that person that's impacted. But those ripples start with the family, the spouse, the children, the grandchildren. So when you think about how they're impacting our community, those ripples hit all of us, whether we recognize it or not. You can be in a Les Schwab and be talking to the clerk, and all of a sudden they're doing some chaotic calls repeatedly, and you're kind of curious as to, you know, what's going on, that you keep seemingly talking to the same person, what's going on, and you're just out of curiosity. It turns out it's a woman who thinks they have her car, and she hasn't. She's lost her car years ago. But the last thing she remembered was that she took her car for a brake check at Les Schwab. So the impact that has is that particular gentleman who overheard this conversation and learned what was going on, recognized that we had this organization and said, you need to call the Alzheimer's Network. So community impact and how this disease is spreading through and the awareness, that's the impact it's having. It's not as isolated as I think it once was. I think back in the 60s, 70s, cancer was a word you didn't talk about. You didn't talk about the C word,
right?
You know, and I think when Alzheimer's really started coming out in conversation, and exactly what is Alzheimer's, and a lot of people first impactful answer is, that's that thing where you forget stuff. And that in itself scares people like nothing you can imagine.
Right.
You know, Rita Hayworth was actually the first person to go public with this disease, and that's where we started hearing this publicly, was from her. And here we are all these years later, and I think this disease is rising. I think that we're also seeing different faces of it, different ages. I don't think we're seeing those silver-haired people anymore. I don't think that we're seeing the 70s and 80s. I think we're seeing people in their 40s and 50s. And so it's a very quiet disease in the sense that there's no pre-warning it's coming. It just comes, you know about it after it comes, and then you gotta deal with it.
You gotta deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've noticed too that it has no age.
No. No age.
Seems more and more younger people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, before, back in 2003, 2004, you would hear about the older people with the dementia or Alzheimer's, but nowadays I hear more and more of younger people, and you read about the reports and stuff, like you said, 40s and 50s.
Mm-hmm. And
so
it's very similar, you know, as I started to learn, you know, cancer and things like, it's similar in the sense that it's undiscriminatory. You know, it doesn't care if you are the winningest coach in all of NCAA basketball. It doesn't care that you are a Nobel Peace Prize winner. It doesn't care that you were a teacher. It doesn't care that you were a stay-at-home mom. It doesn't care if you were Latino or African American or Asian or Caucasian. It really doesn't care where you came from, what you did. It's just a disease that impacts our lives and comes into our lives as it chooses. The only thing I can say about the disease is it has its characteristics, but each person going through this disease, it's like a thumbprint. No one really looks identical. So I think the phrase is, if you see one person with Alzheimer's, you've seen one person with Alzheimer's.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, I can take all of us, line us up, and if we were to draw cards and on your card said Alzheimer's, and I put you all of us in a lineup and said, okay, choose which one of us has Alzheimer's. No one can know that. No one can look by any one of us who has it. Like, you look for your card, I was the one who had it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So you just don't know. And that's the scary part about it is, you know, you can run into somebody in the store and not even know that they could be in the very early stages of it. I find myself now more and more when I'm seeing an older person and they're walking down the street and they look like they're a little lost, like my instinct kicks in and thinks just that my outlook has changed. I am kind of like, you know, concerned, because the other piece of this disease that impacts them is their judgment.
Yeah.
It is, 96 degrees out right now. If I saw an older person with long sleeve jacket, pants on, shoes on,
You'd be wondering.
I'd be concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they're from a hot climate and to them this is cold. But then I'm also wondering, could they? And I think that the other side of it is that we don't recognize that there are families dealing with this disease privately, quietly. They're not reaching out. They're not getting the help that they need. And so what's happening behind closed doors is you have a caregiver who's approaching burnout and they're not reaching out and their health is deteriorating, and now we're dealing with two situations, and sometimes it just doesn't turn out all that well. So organizations, I feel like mine and ours here at AlzNet, that's our job, is to be more prevalent to where they know that they have someone to turn to when they need to.
So the AlzNet, what type of programs do you provide for our community?
So anywhere from education to support groups, art therapy, music therapy. We actually have an iPod music therapy program that's a one-on-one music therapy. The fourth Friday of each month, we've partnered with elder law attorneys here in Salem that will come out and meet with folks and who have some legal questions. You know, they're kind of being faced with this and I have this, but what does this mean? Or we didn't get that, what do we need to do? And so we will partner with the experts here in Salem and offer those services to them. We partnered with senior helpers here in Salem to offer, they come in once a month and offer just a basic education class on dementia and on Alzheimer's and understanding what that means. We also have our adult day respite program, which we're sitting in right now, and this is an opportunity for caregivers who are taking care of someone in the home to come in and get the break that they need, get that self-care that they need, knowing that their loved one is here, they're safe, they're in a home environment, and they're interacting, they're having activities, they're socializing, and they're thriving while they're here. So, yeah.
So, do you mind if we take a look around at your new respite center? And then maybe after we do that, you could let us know how these people who need this type of help, how they can reach out and contact you to look further into the services?
For sure.